Welcome to SoFlo by Lucas Millard. Lucas's latest collection of 13 short stories, ranging from the gross and silly to heart-wrenching thrillers of cosmic proportions. Join Lucas as he takes you beyond the beaches and shows you the dark side of the Sunshine State. Welcome to SoFlo, a collection of weird Florida horror by Lucas Millard. Available January 14th, 2024. Pre-order now. Brought to you by the Evil Cookie Publishing. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Oh, they're both wearing ties. Oh my gosh.
Hey. See?
Yeah. Underdressed.
See, I knew I needed to be dressed up for this one. And look at you two bums.
You want me to go get my glasses on?
I mean, you should do something. I mean, clearly you didn't get the memo. This was a formal event.
I take great pride in wearing formal attire to informal events.
I always feel like dressing up for a podcast is just I can't do it. Like, I applaud you guys, like, absolutely, but I don't know.
Actually, he's lying. Before you came on, he was talking so much shit.
Absolutely. But are you only dressed nice from the waist up? Is my question.
I am so glad that the last meeting I had, the guy did not ask that, because I was wearing plaid, like pajama, like flannel bottoms in the last meeting I had, but this time I am not. I actually have pants. Yes.
Thank you for proving it.
What about Tyler?
Sorry, I missed all of that. I was trying to connect my headphones. You guys could have been talking trash about me, and I never would have known.
We weren't. Brennan was.
Yeah, we assumed that you had nothing on, like that you were absolutely dressed to impress from the waist up, but below that was a disaster.
Oh yeah, it's the mullet. It's the fashion mullet. Business on top, party on the bottom.
Right.
I'll tell you, Tyler, for real, like I really did have a meeting recently where I was wearing like pajama bottoms with this top.
Yeah.
And I felt so weird about it, but I was like sort of in a rush, you know? And then the honest to God, the whole time I was fearful that someone was be like, "Hey Josh, are you also wearing dress pants?" And I would have just been like, I would have pretended to freeze. I would have been like, for like 5 minutes.
But then you found it also sort of liberating, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But I was a little bit like ashamed of myself. I'm like, come on, you couldn't have taken one extra second.
I don't know. I think there's an odd thrill to it. Like, you know, I look for everybody thinks I'm professional, and they will never know.
The thrilling things I'm hiding are on the other side of this computer.
Do you have anything you don't want to talk about at all on here?
You know, like maybe like books. Is it okay if we don't?
Sure.
A little booked out, man. I'm just
we can just change the entire format of the show. It's no longer about books. It's now about circus animals.
Josh,
I'm all for circus animals right now. So,
Josh, since you were the first guest we ever had on where both our wives called us dorks for being so excited and fanboying over you, like you were the first guest we did that over. Yeah, we'll change the entire format for you, buddy.
I have been watching Planet Earth 3, so I am in an animal movie. And there were elephants, speaking of circus animals.
Isn't that Morgan Freeman? Isn't he the narrator?
No. This is the amazing David Attenborough.
Oh shit, I'm mixing it. No, never mind. My bad.
Year by year, this guy's becoming like my favorite human being that's ever existed, man. This dude, man. There is footage of this guy, black and white footage, doing what he's doing now, but in like the 50s, you know? Like, and it's like, it looks like Super 8 black and white footage, and he's like, over here, you know, and he's that young, he's like full of like blonde hair or whatever.
And what a legacy. It's like you're just 70 plus years of talking calmly about nature.
Yes, I know. And also, what a thing for him that he has kind of remained the same, but the technology has advanced with every single thing he's done. So this guy's kind of put his flag in the sand and has stayed not only relevant, he's like cutting edge. like every one of his documentaries is like the best footage ever at the time. Yeah, I love it.
I have a friend who does an incredible David Attenborough impression, and he'll pull it out like when you're doing something random, like you take a bite of your sandwich, and he'll be like, "There he goes, taking a bite of his sandwich." Shut up, man. Let me eat.
Josh, have you read the new Chuck Palahniuk book?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it'll make sense if you read it. Why I'm asking that, because you're talking about David Attenborough. I can't
Wait.
say his last name.
Does he have a story where Attenborough narrates it?
He
No, but
purposely
he references Richard Attenborough instead of David Attenborough constantly on purpose,
Yeah.
to the point where Ross Jeffrey read the book and got infuriated by the fact that he kept calling him Richard. And Ross ended up emailing Chuck's editor asking, like, "Is this legit?"
Oh, did he
Come to
actually
find
email
out-
the editor?
He did.
Oh dear.
And come to find out, there was a copy editor who got fired because he wouldn't let it go. He kept saying, "No, this needs to be Richard, not David." And Chuck's like,
Yeah.
"I want it to be David. It's funny."
Man, I'm gonna write a horror story called Planet Earth, like Planet Earth 94 or Planet Earth 100 or something, and it's gonna be he's still doing it, but now he's like 200 years old, and it'll be this like ghastly, like gray, wrinkled thing that's still, and really, his no different, you know. Oh, I'm gonna write
So
that.
him as the crypt keeper.
Yes, David Attenborough is the Crypt Keeper, Planet Earth 150.
I
Well, you
love
could-
it. Put it in
Oh,
the idea file.
you could do a Black Mirror episode about that, where you just keep his his digital conscious alive.
Well, he could be kept alive by a bunch of little like a bunch of little microbes and shit that are like because they're all like, thank you, and they're all like keeping him alive. Elephants are like blowing oxygen down his mouth, like he's like covered in insects that are eating disease, and you know.
Yeah, real
It's
quick,
written. It's done.
Tyler. When I found out Ross did that, I was like, okay, great. So I thought we had a connection with Chuck, and he may not come back on again. I was a little worried when I was first told that. You guys ready?
Oh my god, I thought we were rolling.
Well, I mean, we are recording.
We have been.
Welcome to Dead Headspace. I'm your host, Patrick R. McDonough, joined always by my friend Brennan LaFargo. Faro, say hello, Brennan.
Oh, really good try there. Hello, everybody.
And our other friend, Candace Noah. Say hello, Candace.
Hello.
Today, we're joined by two returning guests. We'll start with Tyler Jones. Say hello, Tyler.
Hello.
And Josh Malerman. Say hello, Josh.
Hi, everybody.
You and Clay McLeod Chapman, we got to get you both on because you both are funny with that stuff. Last time we had Josh on was episode 140, Dark Stars, with John Langan and John F.D. Taft. That was April 1st, 2022. Last time we had Tyler Jones on was episode 200 with Dennis Lehane, April 24th, 2023. Wow, that's a funny coincidence. I just realized you were both in April. So I'll start with you, Josh. Since that time, since last year, I know you've been up to a lot. You're always up to a lot. So what have you been up to since last year that makes you smile?
All right, so New Year's is my favorite holiday. A lot of my friends will be like, "Your favorite holiday must be Halloween." I'm like, I like Halloween, but my favorite holiday is New Year's because as it approaches and the night of, for a numbers guy, for a guy who like cares about the body of work and what you've done throughout a year, it's the ultimate in literally what have I done in the past year and what do I want to do in the next year. So I've been thinking about this lately a lot, actually. And in the last year, and this has felt like a slow year, but in the last year, I filmed the documentary of writing a novel, and that is being edited right now. So that means I also wrote that novel, filmed the documentary, released Spin a Black Yarn, the book, wrote a nonfiction book, recorded a solo album and put it out, recorded two or kind of three instrumental albums, released an album with the band, and wrote a few short stories. But this is the beauty. And when you were saying episode 200 and this or that, you'll relate to this. The beauty of you do a little bit every day and holy shit, the shit add up. Like it doesn't even like time is going to pass either way, right? Like last New Year's to this New Year's, it's going to pass either way. So how do you market? What do you do? In you, I said like, oh, I did all this in this year, and you'd imagine this furious output in this office, some guy like losing his mind. But no, it's been like a steady little bit every day, and shit gets done. I've embraced at some point. I embraced that philosophy some like 20 years ago, and it's just still serving me well.
Absolutely. I mean, we're recording episode 226, and we started in May of 2020. So yeah, that's a lot. It adds up quickly. I don't want to cut off Candace or Brennan or even Tyler. Does anyone have anything to bounce off of what Josh just said?
Actually, I want to throw it to Tyler with the same question. What have you been up to since you last came on? But I also want to have you piggyback off that idea, because the whole idea of putting in a little bit, if not every day, as often as you can, that's a conversation we've had a lot. So I'd love to hear you just kind of take the ball from Josh and run with it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Josh, congrats. That's a successful year.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'd add to that. It's weird. Like I look at this year, and it's strange how the things that you look forward to, when they pass you by, it almost feels like they didn't even happen. It's like, okay, well, what's the next thing to look forward to? But since we recorded with Dennis Lehane, I mean, gosh, I've released a novel in Midas. I just came out with a new book, last week, called Heavy Oceans, plus the deluxe Thunderstorm edition of my collection, Burn the Plans. By the time this episode comes out, my new novel with Earthling will have been released, and I'm 3/4 of the way through another novel. So it's like, but I've only come out with, a couple things this year, but the work is getting done. So yeah, same thing, man. So much to be grateful for, so much to look forward to. But yeah, piggybacking on what you said, Josh, and to your point, Brennan, it really is the small amount of work that adds up. I think I've talked to some people who tend to focus on the finished product more than they do the process. And I find so much joy in the actual process that maybe it's even a little let down when it's over. Like I'm disappointed to be done with the thing that I've spent so much time doing, whether that's a short story or a novel. So yeah, I'm in full agreement, whether it's 500 words a day or 5,000, like it all matters.
Tyler, in that documentary, at some point that I hadn't planned on talking about that in it, but then it struck me when the end was near in the book, exactly what you're saying. I'm like, I'm starting to get a little sad. Like this experience is coming to an end. And because sometimes writing a book could feel like, that summer camp thing where you're like, you were like somewhere else for a month. You were away from mom and dad for a month or whatever the hell it was. Or a movie set can be like that too, where it felt like you're all these like people like together and like this is eternity. But no, it was this finite moment in time, this really peaked special moment in time. And every rough draft is like that, every single one. And so you get near the end of it and you're like, ah, shit, man, the bus is picking me up and I'm heading back to not writing a novel, not writing a novel land.
Right. And there's totally that psychological component of, like, you use the word momentum a lot. And even Brennan and I, when we talk about writing, use that word. Like there's a momentum to the writing, like a train leaving the station, that it's picking up speed. And finally, like it's rolling down the tracks and you're familiar with it. And that takes time to get into and to maintain that level of enthusiasm and momentum. And there is that sense of approaching the final station. Like, no, man, I want the ride to keep on going, because you're going to have to hop another train at some point and relearn the entire process again.
I just experienced that. Well, actually, I am right now with a short story that I'm really enjoying, and whether it gets accepted or not, that doesn't. I honestly don't even give a shit, because I like this story so much, and it took me, it took me like 9 years to get to the point of where writing so much, and then you just really enjoy the journey, and you're really enjoying what you write. It took me that long. I don't know about you guys, but that's really interesting to enjoy the experience and to kind of know eventually it's going to end and you'll have another one. Candace, I would love it if you jump in.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Actually, since you were mentioning enjoying the journey for Josh on this one, you had written both fiction and nonfiction this past year and did the documentary also. Which journey, I think, did you enjoy the most? The fiction writing or the nonfiction part of that? Was there any difference between the
Okay,
two?
so that, yeah, no, it was huge. You know, gosh, this is a really hard question to answer. Because like in my life, I've discovered like nothing, literally nothing beats writing a rough draft of a novel. I can't even, I haven't had a kid though, so I don't know. Maybe that does. I don't know.
It
But
depends on the kid, man.
well, yeah. But the nonfiction, Candace, was so refreshing. Oh my God. And when I'm saying nonfiction, I'm not talking about like, writing about the history like of the Michigan frontier or something. Oh my God. It was like it's one night 10 years ago, this one profound night that Allison and I had 10 years ago. That's the whole book is about. And at first it was horrifying, and the doc was the same way. Where at first it was like, okay, I sit down to write and I'm writing, and then I'm like, uh-oh, wait a minute. Ah, shit. This isn't like Mallory talking. This isn't Guler, the Cape talk. This is like you. Like every single sentence, every single thing you write right now is you. And there was a kind of a momentary freak out of like, yeah, maybe this isn't for me. I don't know what this is. But then kind of quickly into it, and same thing with the doc, quickly into it, I found like, oh, no. This is you, though. Read it back. And I'm reading it back to myself. I'm like, yeah, like just almost how I'm talking to you guys right now. And I was like, no, this is working. This is working. And once I settled into this, like, to me, pretty foreign voice, it was one of the most refreshing artistic experiences of my life, because it was so refreshing that I can almost see writing another one of these as a reprieve from writing novels. Like, you typically at the end of writing a novel, there's got to be some grace period. I mean, you just wrote an entire book, right?
Right.
I could literally conceive the next day starting something like this. That's how different the two worlds felt. And that's why your question was kind of like hard to answer, because it was a profound discovery for me how different those were. It should be easy to predict, right? When you're sitting there and every sentence is you. Again, it's not a narrator. It's not Mallory. It's not some crazy cop in the story. It's you. That was a different animal, and I freaking loved it. So I'm going to answer the question by saying that nonfiction book was a really profound experience for me.
Now, this is the same night that you were talking about and did the reading on last week with Clay.
Yeah.
I was on that. I heard that whole thing.
Yeah, that was it.
So there was a lot of, well, it's nonfiction, so obviously it's all true. How did you do with the rawness of just being 100% of the truth and being that vulnerable to every word that you put about that night, and with regards to everything that you read on the reading? Like, did that fluster you at all? Would happen to be like that raw on the page, or did you just kind of embrace it and was like, this is me and this is what took place and here,
Yeah. So I read that night. I read from the first like 5 pages or something, and
Yeah.
I may as well just say this. It opens with like a sex scene, pretty much. Allison and I are having sex in the building where the guys once had the office for the Evil Dead, where the guys that made Evil Dead,
Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell.
Yep. They grew up like 4 miles from where I'm sitting right now. So they're like beyond hometown heroes to us. They're like, oh my God, right?
Yeah, they're fucking awesome.
An office building. They had an office building like 4 miles from where I live, blah, blah, blah. And the book opens with Alice and I are having sex in the bathroom of that building, because it doesn't matter. But the point is, I don't think that I've ever had a sex scene in a book before, and it didn't strike me till I was writing this. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, and I'm starting to go through all the books, and I'm like, wait, Mallory's pregnant, but we never. I don't even know the name of the dad, and like we never see how that happened. We assume she did something, and Unburied Carol, there's not. I mean, I'm looking through Inspection. There's definitely not, and it struck me like, dude, the first sex scene that you're gonna write is you. like I was like, okay, well, all
Well,
right, here we go. I will say though, to have Allison in the house to like actually like talk to about things like, hey man, do you remember like where we were? Like, what do you remember how long before we watched the movie did we go to this building? Like stuff like that. So to
yeah.
have her, because the whole thing is about her and I really. So to have her here was like huge. Otherwise, I might have felt like I was like guessing a lot or making a lot of just kind of like, all right, that's good enough. You know what I mean? But to
Yeah.
have her was a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how well I would do with something that raw, I think. Not yet. I don't think I'm quite there yet because I don't know. I just don't know if I'm ready to be that vulnerable on the page yet. So I just wanted to know like what that whole experience was like, just putting it all out there, like, hey, here you go.
How many musicians are in the house right now? How many people like play guitar and stuff? One, two.
They
Yep.
not me.
But now you okay, but the other three, I would argue it's like most of us have like a wide spectrum of music we're into, right? Like from heavy metal to folk. I mean, we love it, right?
Yes.
So when the way you're talking right now is striking me as watching Evil Dead felt like the guitar, it was just maybe a little out of tune. I just plugged it in, turn it on, here we go. You know, and whereas a novel feels a little bit more like, should we tune this first? You know, like, should we make sure that it's in key before we write this? You know, but
Yeah.
there was like a rawness to it, but like, I love that music and so do you. And so it was fun to make that or not fun's not the right word. It was rewarding or it felt fucking good to make that kind of music too.
Yeah. So moving over to Tyler on that same um the journey for you this year and the different things that you have written. And I just got done reading Heavy Oceans as well. So did how does your writing change from novel to novel? Do you outline each one? Is it a completely different experience for each one, depending on like the headspace that you need? Or do you pretty much stick to like the same type of this is how I write, I outline, I plot, I do this A, B, and C, and that's it. So how is that?
Every project is different in the sense that how much I know going into it varies for sure.
Mm,
Um, I tend to, well, at least with the last couple books. So with Midas and this novel I have coming out next year from Earthling called Night of the Long Knives, both are pretty heavy subject matter. And I find that my prose tends to bend to that subject matter in a way that I almost can't control. So I want every book, the prose to be a little bit different, the rhythm of the book, the rhythm of the story to be a little bit different. But the last, gosh, 3 or 4 novels that I wrote tended to be heavy. And then I would take, I don't know, all the pent up energy, and not that the novel is slow, but it's a marathon, not a
mm,
sprint. And then I'd put all of that into a novella that's like Heavy Oceans, that's like pretty bonkers, balls to the wall, just just let it all out, just be as weird and chaotic as it wants to be, and try to be a bit more restrained and structured for a novel, just because I think it's a huge
okay,
investment for a reader. I try to be aware of that. Is what are you asking of for the reader?
right.
And it's a big deal to get into a novel and invest in the characters and the story and the payoff, hopefully emotionally and story wise. So there's that aspect of it, but I'm a total pantser. I have like this really foggy idea of where things might go.
Mhm.
And I've talked about this before, but I guess it might be interesting because I don't know of many writers who do it this way. I take extensive notes while I'm writing, but within the document in itself. So so that I can keep the momentum of a story, I never stop and go back and edit or look over what I've written. But I'll become aware of mistakes that I've made along the way, or things I want to add, things I want to change. And so in the document, I've got what the novel that's being written, and I'll put notes, some white space and then notes. And I'll just add to those throughout the course of the book so that by the time I'm finished, I end up with thousands of words of notes to myself.
Mhm.
And then I'll print those up and go through on the rewriting and add all these things in to hopefully tighten it up. So I'm learning as I go and then making notes to myself about where it might go and what needs to be there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. And as somebody who read an early version of Night of the Long Knives, it makes me absolutely furious that you're a pantser, because it is very, it's well plotted, or at least that's the impression it gives upon reading the
illusion.
final version. The illusion, exactly.
Thanks
So
for saying that, man.
Sometimes
Yeah, of course.
I'll like, whenever I have something like that, Tyler, anything that needs to be like plotted, I'll like get so frustrated. I'll leave the office. I'll be like, Allison, who do I think I am? Agatha Christie? Like, I don't write this way. Like,
2 episodes in a row, we mentioned Agatha Christie. Nice. That's going to be requirements from now on.
Well, it's stuff like that that really makes you appreciate mystery writers.
Yes, totally.
Like, wow. The threads that you have to connect, the breadcrumbs you have to sprinkle along the
Yes.
way. I mean, that's insane.
Oh, dude, that woman.
Before I forget, thank you so much for reading Heavy Oceans. I really appreciate it.
Do you think she was a pantser?
Who?
Agatha Christie.
She was definitely not a pantser. I don't
No,
never know that.
I don't think so. There's far too many things that need to be connected and need to be consistent. Like, I can't even imagine that.
Can you imagine if Agatha Christie was on here and she was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing? Like, if she was like, I don't know, I just like start with these 5 characters at dinner, and we're like, holy shit, man! Well, you really works out for you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Based on real events. Brennan, I think you had
all the more reason that it's probably good that Agatha Christie did not live in the podcast era.
Or
There's the
Shirley
magic there.
Shirley Jackson too, because I heard that she's a feisty one.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to handle her. So I want to throw out there that the original reason that we opted to try and get an episode together with both Tyler and Josh is because we were planning to really focus on Midas. And I definitely want to talk about Midas a little bit, but truth be told, there's a gentleman over in England named Neil McRobert who almost made that obsolete, because there is a fantastic episode of the Talking Scared podcast that Tyler went on to talk about Midas in depth. And because we always talk a big game about, building up other writers, building up other podcasts, I mean, I'm going to refer you to there. Check out that podcast, specifically that episode, and learn everything there is to know about Midas. But what I do want to follow that up with is kind of a 2-parter for you, Tyler. Number one, having recorded that and let a little time go by, is there anything about the book that you would like to have mentioned on there that you didn't? But also, if the answer is no, I'm fine. How does it feel to have released that episode, gotten such a big push of people excited to hearing you talk about the book and be excited to read it, that Earthlings sold out of them within days of that episode releasing?
First of all, thanks for bringing it up. Secondly, no, I don't think there is anything beyond or that I can think of that I wanted to mention. There was at the time, after I listened back to that episode, and there was something that occurred to me at the time, but I thought, I'm a big believer in allowing things to exist in the moment and I'm grateful to Neil for his time and his his insight in that episode, his graciousness. But yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. It is a little strange to be talking about or selling a book that is now sold out. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that it did well by Earthling. I'm grateful that, at least 500 people have it in their hands now. But it is strange because it's a book that means a lot to me, and now that's the only version of it that exists for now. So I'm hopeful that at some point in the future it can have another home. But yeah, it is a little odd in that sense. It's the first time I've been through that, because most of the time you can say, like, here's the thing I've written. Hopefully, if it interests you, you'll check it out. And with this, you can't, unless you can find it on eBay. But don't buy it on eBay.
For double
know.
to triple the price.
Tyler,
Yeah,
I know
right.
that feeling with like Ghoul in the Cape. I have that same feeling of like it's something I'm super proud of, and all these things. And then it doesn't feel weird to talk about it, but it feels weird, like, because when you talk about it, you want someone to be able to read it, like to be able to go get it. And I'm like, oh shit, that one's sold out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you're like, I don't know what to do there. Although I do have 3 of them in my office over here. But
well, you've been through that multiple times. I mean, that happened with Goblin.
yeah,
And
House Under the
Pearl.
Lake, right?
Goblin, On This the Day of the Pig. House Bottom Lake was not limited edition though. That was like whatever. That wasn't
This is
limited.
horror.
Yeah, that was This Is Horror. Wow, jeez. Yeah, but then Goblin and Pearl got the wider treatment from Del Rey, and I would hope eventually one day Go in the Cape. I would love to have a paperback of that, just like this thick, man.
Yeah.
300,000 word paperback. Come on. But I also understand that's a bit of a hard sell, although I'm really proud of that book, and I know that you are of Midas. Midas is incredible, and my response to what you just said, if, like, let's say you and I are at the bar, I'd be like, for now it's a limited edition, and that's wonderful for collectors, for Paul, and forever it'll be this limited edition. But that book's going to go wider one day for sure. So,
well, thanks, man.
that will definitely
Hopefully.
happen in some
We'll see.
capacity.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Like-
I agree with that. We're gonna find a publisher for that. So if you have not gotten over to that Talking Scared episode, you can use the hashtag #GiveUsMidas to encourage publishers to pick that shit up. Actually, Josh, I wanted to throw it to you because your introduction for this was so, like, for lack of better words, genuine. Like it just felt like you finished the book, yelled "Holy shit," and then kind of condensed that into an introduction of, this book blew my mind, and I fucking loved it, which I think is an exact quote there. So yeah, tell us about your experience reading it.
I mean, it from the word go, from the opening scene, with the horse. Is it open with the horseless, or with the riderless horse? Is that how it opens? Is that the opening scene?
That's chapter 1. There's
Chapter
a prologue
1
before that.
Oh yeah, there's a prologue before. Right away though, it just had that combination of like mythology, Western, horror. But for me, it was like right away, it was the voice. Like from minute 1, it was the voice, and that voice, Tyler's writing, and like the richness of it, and to me, it's a combination of like classic literature and total modern man. And I'm a huge, if somebody can pull that off, in any medium, if you can pull off the timelessness and the modernness at the same time. And that book, I mean, that is the epitome of that in subject matter, in writing, in Tyler's outfit right now. Yeah, that one right away, I was like, oh shit, okay, this is amazing. And I had met Tyler in person in Portland, at this awesome place. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Edgefield. Yeah.
And
John Skip's favorite place in the world.
Yeah. And Tyler was in a booth. And we knew that we were going to meet up. We knew that we were going to see each other that night. And I knew that was him for sure. And he had a big book with him. And right away, even that night, I was like, oh, this guy. You could just like get a vibe, and the book Midas like mirrored the energy or the person that I met at that place and played pool with, by the way, which was amazing. Where this, I don't want to ruin anything, where the story went, the grief in it, the power in it. It is a heavy book. It's a heavy book. But there's like, I just read The Green Mile for the first time. And I feel like it's actually an apropos sort of comparison in this, that it's super fucking heavy subject matter, The Green Mile, but there's something warm about the way he writes in general normally, but even that book. Midas was a similar experience for me, where it doesn't read anything like Stephen King, but it has that thing where it's like, this is heavy, this is grief-stricken, this is like greedy, this is ambitious, this is all these things. But the fucking writing and Tyler's voice are warm. And like, again, to me, those, as like a musician, as an artist, as a writer, those are feats to pull off. So wait, real fast, to just in summation on that. Yes, it was like that, man. I finished the book and I was like right away, like writing. I called Paul Miller. Oh, by the way, Paul Miller is unbelievable, just for any listener and anyone. He's one of the greatest people I've ever worked with in any capacity. Called him right after, like raving about it, wrote Tyler, and then wrote the thing like immediately after. You're right. That is exactly what happened.
Yeah. And not to let the introduction overshadow the book, because it is a wonderful book. It all the things you said are absolutely true. But we've all read introductions that don't quite ring true, where it's this person agreed to write the introduction and maybe they liked the book, maybe they enjoyed the book a lot and they have nice things to say about the book, but there is a genuine appreciation, love, and enthusiasm in yours that it's 3 fucking pages long and you read it and you're like, whoa, what am I in for? You're rubbing your hands together and you're itching to get into the prose because that recommendation comes, glowing.
Yeah, well, I think, how do I word this right? Like, us genre files, us horror files, like we're reading all the time. We're watching movies all the time. And I actually do kind of like almost every book I read, I'm able to find something like good in it, or even if it's a book where I'm like, oh my God, that's total sludge fest. I can still find like the nugget of inspiration, why the writer wrote it, that sort of thing. And that to me is exciting, almost as exciting as if the book was better or blah, blah, blah. Is that like, oh, this is why they wrote the book. I can tell this is why, this was the idea. Even if it's a little off center, I can tell. You can just tell. There's like the impetus for writing a book like glows somewhere inside the book. You can find it. And in the course of all this reading and everything we do, you're going to stumble upon ones that are like, oh shit, this is the real deal, And Midas was that from like scene 1 for me. I was like, okay, wow, here we go. All right. But now you got me thinking about like introductions. Like, I'm like, have I read introductions where I don't know that I couldn't tell if a guy, I believe you, but I don't know that I've ever noticed a guy or girl like was there like, actually, this book has 300 pages.
That's a giveaway.
I liked your introduction to Dark Stars too there, Josh.
Thanks.
Talk about the elasticity of horror. I'm just throwing that out there because I did mention the Dark Stars episode. It's a great book, great anthology. So sorry, Tyler, go ahead, buddy.
No, I was just going to say, Josh, thank you for all the kind words about that. And, having you write the introduction, I mean, I think I wrote this to you once, but in person, like it meant so much to me on a personal level. I've been inspired by your work from the day that I bought Bird Box in 2014 when it came out at Powell's Books in Portland, Oregon. I didn't even know who you were. I just saw the cover. It was like, because I try to keep up with everything that's coming out. And I was like, this looks interesting. Read it, bought it, loved it. Like, have been a fan ever since. And I'm sure you know this feeling, how when a writer that you respect and admire writes an introduction, in some way it feels more for you than it does for a reader. I mean, I know it's a part of the book and I know that it's It's for those who are going to read the book as though you are the the Rod Serling for what's to follow. Like, come with
Yeah.
me. Here's the introduction. But as the writer, I feel like it's more for me personally, and it's something that I've returned to. And it's just a cool feeling, So thank you for that, and thank you for
Yeah.
being part of it.
I don't know, Josh. I don't know if you know this, but Tyler found out about our show because of you, indirectly. Do I have that right, Tyler?
Yeah, way to go, Josh.
The fuck did you do?
Now I
No,
got his
it's
phone
true,
number,
it's
and I
true.
won't stop calling the son of a bitch.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the year. Was it 20?
Josh
what
was
it
on
for?
season 1, so that's 2020.
2020. Yeah. I was looking for interviews with you. Yeah, and came across the show. That's how it all started.
Wait. So you started in 2020 and you're at 226 or whatever?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, he does not know how to fucking schedule.
Am I doing the math right? That's one a week for 4 years and change about that? That's
There's
Yeah.
breaks in there, man. Sometimes it's 3 a week. We're
Okay,
recording 3 times this week.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But an average of one a week even, because let's see, 54, 20, 21, 22, 23. Right, we're almost at the end of this year. Yeah.
We're
Wow.
recording another
That's
one
more
as soon
than-
as
that's-
we're done here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's more than one a week. Average. Wow.
Yeah, Brennan and my wife get a little irritated at times, to say the least, because this don't pay the bills. So,
We text each other and we talk shit about you almost constantly.
who? Me?
No, me and your wife.
Oh, well, that makes sense. That tracks. So,
And me. No, yeah.
all right. So the afterword to Spin a Black Yarn, the whole thing, I love it. Josh, it's just coming from your heart. But there's this one part that I particularly loved, and it says, you say a shared philosophy that you had with your agent and one of your closest friends, Ryan Lewis: burn no bridges, leave ego out of all collaborative endeavors, and and momentum above strategy. Now, that definitely goes along with everything I know about you. It's got to be, and Tyler, I will come to you to ask this too, but there's got to be times when, in particular, social media, because in a recent interview, I heard that you don't speak that language, and it makes sense. I mean, I don't think any of us really should, anyways. What this is for you guys to answer for maybe newer writers that have to face what a lot of us face, at least in the beginning, where it seems like maybe someone's not directly pressuring you, but there are pressures that you feel like if you do not listen to people that are very loud about whatever subject matter it is, that you're gonna ruffle some feathers. How do you, what do you say to newer writers that have that fear, might be experiencing it? And what is your advice for dealing with negativity, in be it a person or an event or anything of that nature? Josh, then Tyler.
Wow. And you're talking in terms of social media.
I think social media mainly because that's where a lot of
Well, a couple of things cross my mind. Right?
tornadoes.
One is that I have a tendency to feel empathy, even just for even for everyone, I guess. There's that news, I don't even want to bring it up really, but there's that story about that girl that is getting in trouble right now for writing those reviews, and okay. And obviously that's terrible and wrong. And meanwhile, I'm over here in my office thinking oh my God, what is this woman, if she had just not done this, then there would be no problem. And this wasn't a matter of something you're supposed to do and she failed. This is you didn't have to do this at all. And you hurt yourself. But I'm over here saying to myself, I hope she's all right. And why am I saying that is because if I had fucked up, I would never have fucked up in that way, but okay, I understand. If I had fucked up when Bird Box was first coming out and I'm standing at the precipice of being a published author, which is my absolute dream or fantasy, And if I had like messed that up like that, I don't even know where the hell I'd be at psychologically. So there was actually a side of me that's like, yeah, this was totally wrong, like obviously wrong, but at the same time, like I hope she's all right.
Yeah.
And
Makes
so
sense.
I think that that's one thing that I wouldn't advise a young writer, but I would say like just even when things seem a little obviously wrong, try to maintain empathy in a general sense here. Another one is a lot of the time it feels like with social media, I this is another like sort of empathetic thing where I hear so much like anger and rancor, and I wonder because I have novels, I have songs, I have books, I have what we're doing right now to express myself. So then when it comes to social media, I don't necessarily feel the the need to express myself in full because I just did so in Duel in the Cave. I just did so in watching Evil Dead. And so when I sit down to social media, there's a sense of like, God, I almost need to like force myself to be like more, to express more. My initial reaction is like just to write like, ha ha, and someone's like funny thing. And like, because I'm spending all day expressing myself. Okay. But a lot of the people that are online, they don't have that, man. They don't have books. They don't have songs. They don't have a friend, maybe like Allison in their lives, who they've rapped philosophy with all night. And so maybe they're over expressing. Maybe they're overstating something, over declaring something, because there's a sense, this is where I express myself, is here. So I must do it in full. And that's the vibe I get from it. It's a very like loud place. And that implies to me people that feel like they need to be heard, they need to express some of themselves here. So I think that naturally a young writer would already be expressing themselves in their writing and probably be in a good place with that. But the reason I bring it up, rather than letting all that negativity or letting it all feel like negativity, maybe just back up with one step and be like, okay, this is a lot of voices that don't have anywhere else to talk. And so they're all really loud. And oftentimes it can get really, really dark and gory and negative. But also keep in mind, they don't have books like you do. Maybe not. You get what I'm saying. A lot of these people don't. And so again, it's an empathetic look at it. And then the third thing is this, and this is the last thing I'll say about this. This is something that Allison taught me. God, this is like the greatest lesson of my life. Is that when we first started dating, there was someone in my life, I don't have to name him, who was like being weird to me. And I like was complaining about it to Allison. And then like the next time our second date, I'm like, oh, this, and then she was like, you do realize that this person, how they are with you is how they are with everyone. In other words, it's not you. This is who they are with everyone. This is how they talk to everyone. If they're dismissive to you, they're dismissive to everyone. If they're funny to you, blah, blah, blah. And that was like a major life lesson for me in this way. So, because you then don't take things personally. If you're online and you see the craziest fucking thing you've ever seen, which right now, if one of us went right now, we would. And
within 30 seconds.
Like, no, it's like guaranteed. The five of us split right now and came back. We broke and came back. Be like, oh my God, did you see this? But her point was, hey, dude, that person that you're like, oh my God, you're in arrears, you're so upset. Blah, blah, blah. No, that person's like that with everyone. Oh, okay. Let them be that. You are you. These all sound like empathetic things, but I feel like to me, that's a wiser approach than trying to either join or, I guess, battle that negativity.
To me, it also sounds like self-preservation, because that's the only way you're going to survive this world, man.
Yeah.
Tyler.
I do.
Sorry,
real
Brandon, go
quick
ahead.
before we. No, that's okay. Real quick before we throw it to Tyler, I do love that you started off with kind of pointing out that person with the reviews. And for anybody listening in the any later than today, when this is already blown over, we're referring to this thing where an author had signed up to have her debut is coming out through Del Rey in 2024, and she got caught creating a bunch of like fake Goodreads accounts to review bomb other people who were coming out with books around the same time. I think that, what you brought up, Josh, is a really good point of just understanding that we don't always see the full picture. Like, maybe this girl is a bad person. That's certainly
Right.
how she's being painted. Maybe she's young and she got some bad advice. I have no idea how old she is. She could be 20, she could be 40. But maybe she got some advice like, hey, you just got signed to this monster deal. Your book is coming out. It's going to be in every bookstore in the country. You don't know what the fuck to do. Maybe she listened to the wrong person and just got swept up in some bad information, made a silly mistake like we all did in our early 20s, if not our teens. And is now going to pay for it because Del Rey did drop the book. But I don't know. I think it does require that we look at, these social media situations and say, we don't know the whole person and we can't know the whole person. We can only see what they're putting out there. And, to your second point, the idea, I love the idea that it's an outlet. Like, we don't need to put all this shit on there because we have another outlet. This is just, let me shout about my books and laugh at things every once in a while, versus somebody who maybe doesn't have that alternate outlet and feels the need to put everything on social media, maybe put things that they don't even believe on there in order to kind of get that same reaction. Man, that's a whole conversation. And if I let it go down the spiral, we will waste a lot of time.
Think about it. You were talking about doing, and you are talking about this whole other episode about Midas, and you're talking about doing Midas here. Do you know how rewarding that is for Tyler? Like how rewarding, like, not only does he have the book that people are reading, but we're here talking about it. I mean, there's so much, what a feeling. And so now imagine someone that doesn't have that. I mean, okay, my mom doesn't have that. My brother doesn't have that. Whatever. They got different things in their lives. But then you start seeing like, oh, right. This feels like a room full of people that don't have another outlet. Right.
I guess to bring it back to the beginning of this show, why it was created was I read a whole lot of books on when I realized in 2013, hey, I want to be a novelist. Well, I read a bunch of books on like what should you do, and one advice that I forget most of it, but one advice that always stuck out to me, one piece of advice was that you can't just write nowadays if you want to eventually make it. I want to be a full-time writer like you, Josh, one day, whenever that is, and it can't just write. You have to promote. You have to, even if you're at the highest level, even if you're working with Del Rey or Pantheon Books or HarperCollins, one of the big boys. You have to do a lot more than just be a writer for most people. So that's why eventually I came up with the podcast. I'm like, you got to have something to stand out. And luckily, I had a friend named Brennan to join, and eventually Erica, and then Candace. And, it just, I'm throwing that out there to kind of say, here's an example. Like, just be yourself, because that's all we've done is be ourselves. And that's all you've done, Josh and Tyler, which I wanted to say earlier. All the praise about that book, Midas, is a mirror. It's a reflection of you, Tyler.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you said it to me before, and you made me cry through text, you son of a bitch. Where you said that I'm acting tough, so I don't cry again. But because he said that the show's a reflection of me, and he had a whole lot of nice stuff to say. So I am saying that it's the same thing with you in your books. So enough about that. Tyler, you jump in and I'll repeat the question if you want me to.
No, that's cool, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, like Josh, a lot of what you're saying about the social media, I think is philosophical in nature. And I think that to add to that, man, I'm with you on the empathy thing. I'm made the same way. I feel empathy for nearly everyone. And I think a lot of people have that ability. I mean, look at the fascination with like serial killers. Like people can find ways to empathize with someone who has done the absolute worst things a human can do. And yet when it comes to another normal person on social media, they just lose their minds over the smallest things. It's a weird imbalance that we have where we're able to empathize with certain types of people, but not with others. And I think that we would be a lot better off if we could just apply that to just humans in general. But thinking about what you said about people maybe not having a book, like on a real practical level, for writers using social media, whether you're just starting out or whether you're established, I think that there's, at least how I perceive it, there can be this danger in wanting to have an identity online for this undefined audience of followers. And so it tends to morph, and it tends to lean towards anger or frustration. And I mean, we've all seen the posts, random people just putting some grievance online for all to see. And you're like, who is this directed at? And what was the point of this other than to flip that switch in somebody who sees it? Like, get angry with me. Let's be angry together. And I think that can be mistaken for relevance, is like, I'm having engagement with my anger, so therefore it's relevant. I've talked to a couple starting out writers who have actually posed this question. It's a modern question. How do you navigate that? Like, I don't know, but my answer is really simple. It's always, you know what? I don't use social media like some people do. I don't scroll ever. So to me, it's like, it's a fine place because I check up on some friends and that's about it. I do not scroll, so I miss just about everything. Also, I will never post anything that I don't post just to post. And I think that that's another thing that I would encourage, like, starting out writers. Don't feel like you have to post something every day to be relevant. You're not being relevant. You're just posting something that's worthless. And I firmly believe that everything that we do, no matter what it is an act of creation. How you live your life, the choices that you make, how you treat other people, and how you write, and how you love your partner and your kids and your dog. Like, everything is an act of, you're creating a life worth living. So I try to apply the same principles to social media that I would to writing a book. Is this good? Does this need to be there? Is it the best that it can be? Is it the best reflection of me that I'm putting out into the world? If the answer is no, then I'm not going to post it, because it's all an act of creation to me. So that I would encourage and advise anyone to think of it in those terms, because you can avoid a lot of heartache.
You're going to come with philosophical bombs like that. We're supposed to be talking about heavy oceans and spin a black yarn. And
it's interesting because in a way you sound like, man, I wish you were in this office with me. You sound, I guess you are. You sound like you're like you and I, well, all of us, but you and I are like characters that we've created as well. Like, if everything you do is creation, right? Then it's like, and you brought up the idea of identity as well in social media. And it's like, we are actually characters, and there are things that do not jive with my character. You know what I mean? One of them is just, I don't know. Like, I was talking to Jonathan Jans the other day, and I was like, what if I went tomorrow on Twitter and posted, man, I freaking love this place. Every time I come here, I feel so inspired, vivified, and full of life. Thank you, everyone. And then that was it. I asked him, what do you think the reaction to that would be? And he was like, number one, I think some people would get mad at you.
Undoubtedly so.
And then he goes, number two, most people would think you were joking. And I was like, right. Yeah. So think about that for a second. We are at a party right now where if I said, hey, everyone, this is a great time, everyone would be like, who the fuck is this guy? Well, that makes me feel like I got to leave that party. That makes me feel like there's got to be a better party going on next door. It's like, you know what I mean? Even if it's just me and one dude, like, sitting outside talking, like, because of that thing. But yeah, the identity thing, that one really resonated when you just brought that up, is that there's a sense of, and here's the reason my favorite bands, like the Beatles and these kind of bands are because there's so many different moods. So many, there isn't like Adele almost has like a singular mood to me, but the Beatles have so many different moods.
Yeah.
And a lot of bands from that earlier era had like, it's not just ballad or rock song. We're talking like from the cutesiest little dinky thing to like the most serious lyrics and everything between, blah, blah, blah. And I look for that in art. I look for that in novelists, or at least I'm excited by it in novelists and artists, filmmakers, everything, range of emotion, of mood. And I think you're right. I think that online, a lot of times people think that I need to be, this is my identity here. My identity here is I am this kind of person here, even if that's like a goofy one, not just a negative one. And it's like, but I'm not always goofy. Sometimes I'm thorny. Sometimes I'm funny. Sometimes I'm boring. Sometimes I'm like not. Sometimes I'm full of energy. And I don't think that social media, there's room for it, but I think that we all sort of fool ourselves into thinking we're supposed, well, now I'm in social media character.
Yeah.
Whoever the fuck this guy is, you know? Yeah. So that resonated with me, that whole identity thing. And that's interesting. I almost wish that I could just touch like all of the minds of everyone on Twitter at once and be like, hey, you can express many moods. It doesn't have to be just a singular identity here. All of you could be, or none of you.
Yeah. You know, the best relationship advice that I ever got, and it's not just like marriage or romantic relationship advice, it applies to friendship and coworkers and children, is if there's something that you wish was different about someone, or like say it, it always bothers you, like when your kid doesn't take out the trash or your spouse leaves an empty milk jug in the fridge, to say, hey, you know what? I really appreciate it when you take out the trash. It really means a lot when you do this thing. Like it sounds so cliche and stupid, but it's speaking into existence the best part of somebody, you know? Like rather than hammering on the negative, you find, like you were saying about a book, how you love every book because you can find something in it, the thing that glows. You find that thing that glows and you nurture it, and that's an act of creation in itself. And to do that with ourselves, even, to like, how can you be honest as a writer if you're not honest with yourself? And honesty with yourself is like, oh man, here's an area where I suck, here's an area where I could improve, here's where I failed today and I should have done better, I'm going to try not to do that tomorrow. You can take that honesty and put it into the work and into the creation and into relationships. So yeah, in terms of like creating a character, I think we all want to be someone better than what we are. And so then what does that look like reflected on an internet space or in a friendship or a relationship? Like it like you're saying, it can't be just one thing online. Well, we contain multitudes. So to make sure that the reflections of ourselves in the world, whether it's art or whether it's a post online, does reflect the best version of ourselves. Maybe not that we are, but that we want to be. A future version of ourselves.
I thought you were going to say mic drop. Candace.
No.
And now you're going to go to me and want me to follow that very heavy, very apt moment there. Great. Thanks,
You are
Brennan.
correct. Yep.
All right. Well, I agree with pretty much everything the two of them had to say about social media. As the two, like I am pretty much me at all times when I'm out there, which is basically choose kindness, compassion, have a great day on purpose. Like be intentional about what you say and what you do and how you treat everyone around you, because you don't know. There are two sides to every single story and we don't know. So that's my whole thing online, offline, in my real life, in my writing life, in my Facebook life. This is just me. Like, this is how I choose. But with all of that being said, and trying to somewhat move away from social media, because I think we could do that for another hour and a half. and we are here to talk about the two of you and your recent books. I'm gonna flip it to Josh and spin a black yarn. Wow, a lot to unpack there. Loved it. But since I do know we're running into the tail end of our time here, if you had about 2 minutes to pitch the collection to a new reader, Josh, what do you say? And
Good answer.
Well, it is 5. Is it 5? I think it is 5 novellas.
yes,
Yeah, 5 novellas that take place in the fictional, in or around the fictional city of Sam Hatton, which is near the fictional city of Goblin, and Goblin was another collection of novellas of mine. Sam Hatton is a colder place, less colorful place than Goblin, and while that may be less appealing at first, that also provides for colder scares, and the stories are less about obsession and more about like deeds. A lot of Goblin is about characters that are obsessed with something, and this book feels more about things that people have done and whether or not there's repercussions for those or not. I don't know how I would pitch it other than to say that I am happy with the fact that none of the two stories are very not that similar. I mean, there's themes, that kind of thing, that must obviously go through them all, or go through each, whatever. But they're dramatically different in how they're told, in time period, in the distance between sci-fi and horror. So there's a lot of range in here, I would hope. And the first horror movie I ever saw was Twilight Zone the movie, and the second one was Creepshow, and the third one was Creepshow 2. So my introduction to this genre was anthology segments that were completely unrelated, but by putting them between the same covers or under the same title in a movie, it unifies them in a way that to me says, hey, here's one example of how elastic the genre can be. And Twilight Zone the movie, I mean, it literally was the perfect first movie for me to see the range from the Steven Spielberg heartwarming tale, like, oh, horror can be warm, to the scary like monster on the airplane, to Anthony Anything with His Mind, to the social commentary skit, to the wraparound horror.
mm-hmm.
And I would hope that Spin a Black Yarn also like pulls that off, that it has like range, and that if a younger reader read it, they'd be like, oh wow, anything can be horror. And I don't mean anything meaning like the toaster could be, that too, but I mean like tone of voice and that kind of thing. So I would hope that Spin a Black Yarn like ignites that fire in a reader.
Nice. I would agree that you nailed it. It's a great range. I just loved it. I had one in particular that I absolutely loved, but
Which one?
Argyle. I won't say it wrong,
yeah.
Awesome.
but that one, loved it. Just completely loved it. But we can talk about that more later. Let's get into Tyler and Heavy Oceans. So that was a ride. So same question for you. 2 minutes if you had to pitch that to somebody new to your work, what do you say?
I would say it's a short novel of deep sea terror and cosmic horror about a group of 4 men who find something absolutely terrifying at the center of the ocean. And it's for readers who, it's like the opening of an X-Files episode before Mulder and Scully come to investigate. It's the thing they come to investigate.
Oh wow! All right,
Nice.
That is a great pitch, man.
And I'm gonna read that one, man. Could you do me a favor?
Sold, yeah.
Tyler, after this, could you send me a pitch for Spin a Black Yarn?
You didn't even need
I'll
the
send
full
you
2
my
minutes.
yeah, man.
No, because that kind of made me want to read it all over again. Like, yeah,
right.
Yeah, that was sweet. Yeah, that was a good one.
that's spot on too. Okay. So with that, and we're talking about the books because we didn't get a chance to really get into that too much. I do want to ask my one other question that I like to ask about these. Tyler, we'll start with you since we are on the heavy oceans one because I think Josh's is going to be a little bit more involved too. So with yours, since it was a singular story, did you have a character in the novel that resonated with you the most, or that you found the hardest to write? And if so, who was it and why?
Yeah, the two main, well, there's four primary characters and two of them are brothers. Um, I've always had a fascination with brothers. I don't have any blood brothers. I have two stepbrothers, but I've always been fascinated by the idea that you can have two people who are raised in the same house in the same environment who turn out totally different. So they've had the
Mhm.
exact same childhood, the exact same experiences, and one can be absolutely crazy, have broken relationships, and the other can be totally stable. And that's always
Yeah.
been like just at a psychological level really interesting to me. So Jamie Fletcher is the main character of Heavy Oceans, and um, his brother's name is Eric, and Eric's the more aggressive, violent, wild one, and Jamie's trying his best to be stable, but I think that his childhood has broken him a little bit more than he expected. So I empathize with both of those characters, and I like writing Jamie. I wanted him to do well. I wanted to
Mhm.
see him be okay. And Eric was a little bit challenging simply because he is a little bit more aggressive in nature, and
Yeah.
um, that's not me. So you kind of have to, you know how that goes. I mean,
Yeah.
when you write somebody who tends to be a little bit more violent and lash out in anger, uh, yeah. So that was a little bit challenging, for sure.
Okay. All right, Josh. So you have five here. So rather than asking for a character from each one of them, could you pick one out of all that you found the most difficult to write or that resonated with you the most out of all five of the stories in it?
I loved writing Igorov. And I know that I don't look at reviews online, but I'm assuming that Igorov's got to be most people's least favorite story. It's super slow, it's crazy, but I loved writing that dude, man. And like I could have that his story could have been 3 times as long. Just loved being with him. But in terms of like actually resonating, I mean, I mean, it's what am I going to say? Sean from Argyle. I mean, that's a tall order, man. That was autobiographical. But I did resonate with him, like in a sense of like I don't want to do the things that he wanted to do, but in a sense of I I guess in my life it would be like hey man, try to maintain, try to remain a gentleman through this chaos. You know what I mean? In his life, it's like, hey, try not to kill anybody, right?
Yeah.
And so I related to that aspect of it, not repressing yourself because there was a good idea for him to do that, but checking yourself. I did relate to him on that. The
Mhm.
hardest one, I mean, Doug and Judy were a little hard, man. There were moments where I was like, fuck these two, man. Like that one moment when Doug realizes, or at least says, how Judy ruined that one woman's career for no reason. And Doug's like, wait a minute, but that's not on that. She wasn't on the ladder. Meaning we're allowed to step on anyone on the ladder, Judy. But that woman, she wasn't in our way.
Yeah.
That would you just ruin someone on the side? Like you just want like at that moment in the story, I was like, oh man, these two suck, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously that was really fun to write, right?
Well,
So, yeah.
I had to put my earbud in when I was listening to that. Because my little guy my 4-year-old was in the kitchen. Like, oh, there's too many fucks in this
Yeah, a
one.
lot of F words in that. A lot of F
Gosh,
words in that
that would
story.
have been.
Yeah,
But on the flip side,
do-
with Doug and Judy and with Argyle, like we can see the smile on your face when you're writing those stories.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
I just realized that Argyle is like a metaphor for what we were talking about with
Yeah.
social media and
Mhm.
creating a character.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't even put that together.
Yeah, because I mean, I think we all have those that thought process. Like, I really want to say this right now, but I can't. I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't. It would feel good, but I know I shouldn't. I know I can't. And you
Yeah.
got to take that breath and take a step back. And I think that's natural for all of us. Now, Sean obviously
Yeah.
takes it to the extreme. But I think that's why I like that one so much because he was just putting it all out there like, listen, this
Yeah.
is what I've been thinking and this is what I've been dealing with. And yeah, I wanted to do that to you too. And it was just, yeah, but could you imagine if one of us just like let it all out there and just told everybody around us that all these thoughts that we've had throughout life about them and was just like, yeah, well, I never told you, but did you know? I just, yeah, I just like that one because that thought, I have a lot of those thoughts. I mean, but you have to check yourself. You gotta rein it in, but like, okay, I can't say that. But yeah, I think that's why I liked it so much because he was like, I'm done. And I don't have to hide who I am anymore. I don't have to not say this anymore. And I'm gonna tell you people who I really am. And yeah. It was great.
Yeah, it struck me recently. Somebody was talking about Argyle, and it struck me that I can't remember his son's name, Andrew. I think it's Andrew, and somebody pointed out to me that the daughter, Margaret, seems really upset about it, but Andrew doesn't seem so upset about it.
He's not.
They were like, "Is Andrew also like this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, yes."
Was he just really fascinated? Like,
Yeah, he just seems straight up like, "Oh wow, Dad, whoa." Whereas
things I never knew.
yeah, things I never knew. That's kind of awesome, Dad. Actually,
You're cooler than I thought.
you're way cooler. Yeah.
So, can I ask? I got one question that I'm going to relay, and it's from Jonathan Jans because I messaged him earlier. It made sense just to ask him if he had a question for y'all, and he said, "Here's one for Josh. How does it feel to be sitting on one of the scariest books ever written, and to know that book is coming out next year?" I have no idea what he's talking about, which book it is, so I don't know what you can talk about as far as that goes, but it piqued my interest.
Wow. First off, that is awesome. And he wrote that. It's called Incidents Around the House.
Oh, I saw Clay McLeod Chapman got that delivered to him. Nice.
Yeah. And
I like the cover, man.
Well, that's just that's like a what do you call it? That was just what I used on the rough draft. Ross Jeffrey made that for me to just use for the rough draft.
Oh,
but
nice.
I kind of love it too, though. But anyway, that's the book that Ross and I were sending each other 10,000 word installments of. I've never done that before, but would love to do that again. Because it felt like you were almost like performing for a fellow writer. It almost felt like you were writing, serializing it for a fellow writer. So Incidents Around the House comes out next year. I should be getting like real, like proper cover art for it soon. I can just tell you this much is that my younger brother, 13 years ago, my younger brother was putting his kid to bed for the night. And then my brother and his wife were at the door to the room, and the kid was, I want to make sure I have this right. The kid was like, "Good night." And then Ryan and Alyssa were like, "Good night." And then the kid was like, "Good night." And then they turned around and they're like, "Elliot, you already said good night." And then Elliot was like, "I'm saying good night to other mommy." And Ryan called me and told me that story. And I was like,
Yikes.
I'm like, are you outside? Right? You're not in the house anymore, right? He's like, "Dude, come on. It's a kid." I'm like, no. You're still in the house right now? You got to get out of the fucking house right now, So for like 13 years, I've been talking to Ryan. Like I'd say like, I'm saying goodnight to other mommy, And I'm like, man, I got to write this fucking book, whatever this is. I got to write this fucking book. And then 13 years later, I did. So Incidents Around the House, I'll just tell you that story was the inspiration for the entire novel.
Wow. Holy shit. That sounds amazing. So we're gonna wrap this up now. Where can people follow you? Tyler, go first, sir.
All the normal places at T Jones Writer and my website tylerjones.net.
Josh.
I say just come over to my house and let's do a shot together, man. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna last on social media, man.
I hear that. Candace.
Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, uncomfortablydark.com, and under my name. So I'm
Brennan.
everywhere.
You can follow me at Josh's house. I'll be doing shots.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. Oh, I will say this. My website this is exciting. This is an announcement. My website has a novel on it that I wrote live or as live as you can write, I suppose, a novel called Carpenter's Farm. But just today, I signed the special edition, limited edition with Paul Miller for Carpenter's Farm to come out in physical form.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
So that's
excellent, man.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that is exciting. Long time coming for that one. We're gonna do final thoughts, same order. Tyler Jones.
Final thoughts. Caught me
Mhm.
off guard there.
Yes.
I was thinking about Carpenter's Farm. Paul told me about that a couple weeks ago, and that you guys were working towards that, and I was just so thrilled that it's fine. It's getting the Earthling treatment, deluxe edition, physical. It's going to be awesome, man. So congrats on that. That's my final thought. Congrats to Josh
That's fair.
and to Paul.
Josh.
My final thoughts, but I swear, before you said that, were also towards you, which is, hey, listeners, we've been talking about Midas a lot, but honestly, it's what you're looking for when you're looking for greatness in the genre. And from the pacing to the thinking behind it to the emotionality. And we've said it's heavy and this kind of thing, but like I mentioned before, yes, it's heavy, but it's also so well done that it's inspiring also in that way as well. So my final thoughts are like, everyone really, whoever, if you can, or whatever way you can do it, check out Midas.
Brennan.
I don't know what we were thinking, trying to do a Tyler Jones, Josh Malerman episode in like 90 minutes. We needed at least 3 hours. I would say pick up Spin a Black Yarn. It's awesome. I would say if you can get your hands on Midas, even if it costs like $210 on eBay, get it. Or wait for it to get picked up by a traditional publishing house, because it absolutely will. Go for it. In the meantime, check out Heavy Oceans. It's out from Darklit Press. It's out now, and it's a fucking ride.
I can't wait.
Yeah, man, you'll love it. You will absolutely love it. Beyond that, thank you both for your time. Always appreciated.
Thank you.
Candace.
Echo everything that Brennan just said for the most part, because that's what I was gonna say. Thank you for your time. Of course, everybody out there, just go and pick up Heavy Oceans and Spin a Black Yarn and everything else these two men have ever written in life. Yeah, so that's about all.
And Tyler, you know how we feel about you, buddy. Always love having you on. Josh, you too, man. You both are truly gentlemen on and off air. So it's a pleasure to get to know y'all and have you guys say some wonderful advice that I would certainly appreciate if I was newer to the scene. Listeners, two very vague teases, but next season we're gonna have Tyler on with a guest we've wanted to have on for a long time. He's beloved, and if you know who Tyler's favorite author is, then you know who it'll be. Can't announce it yet though, so
Jody Pico.
nailed it. And then as far as I got a fun tease, and Josh gave me the green light on this. Josh will be in my next anthology that I'm editing with Joe and Keith Lansdale. It's gonna be announced in January, so a month from when this comes out. It's exciting as hell. Big table of contents that many of you will probably love. So stay tuned for that. Next episode is episode 227 with Paula D. Ash. And as always, you have many choices in podcasts. Thank you for picking us.